plus, correction, 0, 0.
We went to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972. We landed 12 astronauts on the moon, brought them back safely. We're talking about going again today. And what NASA will admit, if you probe a little bit, is that we've lost much of the knowledge from the original Apollo missions. In fact, we could not go to the moon today if we had to. Specifically, we've lost the knowledge of how to build the Saturn V rocket. The engineers who built that rocket were retired out of NASA in the 90s, and we've lost the blueprints. No kidding. I tell that story because it serves as an assumption that we have in our society today that once we have achieved a level of performance in our organizations, we can always sustain that level of performance. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. Unless we find ways to transfer and retain the critical human, social, and structural knowledge that we've developed in many of our organizations, we're not going to be able to do that.
The problem is most CEOs and many senior executives get overly focused and are overly focused today on recruiting. Where are we going to get our new young talent? Which is absolutely critical to do. They need to do that. But they also need to balance that against the older workers and experience base they're letting walk out the door.
You think about the transformation you've seen in your work life, from work life before personal computers to what we have today, where systems underlie everything we do. Well, they're just symptomatic of the transformation that has gone on in our workplace, the unbelievable explosion of knowledge and our dependence on computer networks, explosions in scientific knowledge, pharmaceutical drug development, and explosions in increases in managerial knowledge and managing distributed global operations. All this knowledge has developed and means that when people potentially leave organizations today, they leave with knowledge that didn't exist 30 years ago. These issues that we're talking about tonight, the changing workforce and knowledge transfer, always have to be discussed in a strategic context. You don't go to leadership and talk about these issues just as tactical issues. They have a direct bearing on your ability to implement your business strategy. If your strategy is around innovation, degrading your knowledge base, for the most part, seriously degrades your ability to continue to innovate in the product lines that you're talking about.
I don't know one organization today that isn't worried about accelerating the development of their next generation of leaders. They realize the leadership pipeline is so thin in the middle of the organization that they are really at risk of being able to support growth and cost control and innovation in the future.
What you need to do is you need to focus on future workforce capabilities. You need to keep 3 things in mind. It's not just about retirements, it's about retention of mid-careers and recruiting. You need to think about all 3 of these together. Because ultimately, knowledge transfer and knowledge retention is about 1 of 2 things. Either retaining good employees, young or old, so they're around to share knowledge or acquire it, or actually the actual process of transferring the knowledge. This is an incredibly strategic issue for many organizations. You need to get started now, because every month you wait, every quarter you wait, reduces the options you have. The point is, there are all kinds of ways we can lose knowledge that have a direct bearing on the performance of our business. And this is why this issue is so important.